Hey there, you're listening to BD4, where there's no better way to get your Yankees and Knicks analysis. Yanks every series, Knicks every game, and MMA on occasion. Here's your host, RJ Carbone.
And a high drive in the left center field. Stanley's going to watch another one fly. Are you kidding me? DiVincenzo a three. Bang! Bang! Knicks take a
Take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
At the wall. See ya! See ya! See ya! Mr. November.
Anthony for three. Bang! That one goes down and the game is tied.
Rose, you shook up the world again.
I did it again. My God did it, man. I really just had
Gonna have to. Brunson running away. Oh my! He has been the best player to put on that uniform.
Ball game over. Yankees win. The Yankees win.
All right. Well, another day, another loss. This Knicks team just can't figure it out. Welcome, folks. Episode 781. This is an audio-only episode again. I'll be back soon with video, like you care. The Knicks continue to lose basketball games. This team just cannot find consistency. So they lose last night to the Detroit Pistons 124-119 at Madison Square Garden. After the Knicks had beaten the Pistons 15 consecutive games, the Pistons have now won 2 in a row against the Knicks. They have not been able to take care of them this season, and it's not a good look for, this Knicks team is supposed to be a title contender, which is a joke by now, but, they were supposed to be in that conversation. And the Pistons are not a good team. Better, but they're not a good team. And so to lose to them twice now in your own building, it's not good. And so that's what happened last night. We're obviously going to talk about the shot or the 2 shots by Beasley at the end. We'll get into some defensive stuff, and that's really going to be it. It's going to be a shorter episode because I just don't have the energy to go 35, 40 minutes and talk about this Knicks team. I need a break from them. I really do. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some Yankees soon. So stay tuned for some Yankees. We'll have a projections episode where we go over what Fangraphs projected and stuff like that. But the Knicks lose 124-119. And listen, we are now we're 41 games into the season. So we are officially at the halfway point. So me personally, I'm done worrying about regular season losses. I'm pretty. Of course, I'm going to be invested and I'll be passionate, but I'm pretty confident. Despite what you see on Twitter after a loss when they act like this Knicks team is 3-30, I'm pretty confident that the Knicks will be a top 4 seed or better this year. I'm not impressed with the Eastern Conference below them. They're really the only 2 teams, Celtics and Cavs, and you can add in a healthy Orlando team that I worry about with the Knicks matching up with. But I'm pretty confident at this point they'll be top 4. They're on a 52-win pace despite all this nonsense and everything. So from here, what I just need to see is I need to see team building. I need to see them building in areas of improvement, right? I need to see some defensive things, which is what we're going to focus on in this show. I need to see some offensive things, which is what we focused on in the last couple of shows. I need to see some coaching things happen. I'm looking at some key games on the schedule, right? They've had trouble beating top seeds. And that kind of ties into some of the defensive things and offensive things that we want to talk about. But I need to see health. Obviously, health and the minutes thing. The 16-year-olds on Twitter are going nuts because pro athletes are playing big minutes. Some of it's granted, some of it's a little extreme. So we are who we are right now, and we all know who the Knicks are at the moment. And we need them to not be this version of the Knicks come playoff time in a few months, right? So you have a half season left to get it together, and round into form by the time the postseason comes around. Do I think that will happen? No. But when Leon Rose and Brock Aller and Worldwide West, etc., built this team, and when they made the trades they did this past summer or last summer, I'm pretty confident they did it knowing that the Knicks are probably going to need another year to become that title contender. So that's where we are right now. This is nothing new. You've heard my opinion all year. I've been pretty consistent in that I think this team is not going to win a championship this year. And that's where I continue to stand. But let's get to what really went down last night. And that was those final minutes there where the Knicks let Beasley destroy them. Cade Cunningham poured in 36 points. They couldn't stop him in the second half, third quarter specifically. He torched. We started off torching Mikal Bridges, but they finally took him off and put OG on him. OG, it didn't work with him. But the end of the game there, let me just take a sip of coffee. Those final couple of shots, Detroit run the same two pick and pops to eventually win the game. And both times they put Jalen Brunson into the action. And they were getting exactly what they wanted by doing that, right? By putting Brunson in the action, that forced the Knicks into a scramble. It forced them into rotation. And Detroit cashed the open look out of it. Watching that play over again, there was no need for Josh Hart to overcommit to the closeout. I'm not saying he should have stayed home, but that definitely should have been a stunt and recover. That wasn't Towns' corner rotation there. Towns needed to be boxing Stewart, which he was doing. He needed to rebound the potential miss. And I thought Josh Hart overcommitting there was what led, obviously, to the Beasley 3. But, to be honest, you rewind a little bit, the breakdown began at the very top of the set. It began well before the swing to Beasley. It began when the Knicks didn't pre-switch Brunson out of the action with OG Anunoby, and they had plenty of time to, both times. If you pre-switch that, OG is on Cade, and Mikal doesn't have to leave Tim Hardaway to send help. And then if you pre-switch it and they send Brunson's man to screen off the pre-switch, then you scram switch it. But Brunson was being hunted, targeted, like prey, all night long on those pick and rolls. So, in my opinion, Tibbs and the Knicks needed to do everything it took there to get Brunson out of the action, make sure he was not involved in the play. I'm not sure they did enough. If you pre-switched it, you probably have a better outcome, or you increase the chance at a better outcome. I would have even preferred if the Knicks played it straight up with Brunson to Tim Hardaway Jr. and not to Cade. THJ is a lot smaller than Cade, and he's a much weaker offensive player, obviously. I would stick Mikal to Cade and just play it straight up that way. But the second time, I think maybe you can't do that because the Knicks switched it. Maybe the Knicks switched it because Mikal got caught on the screen. I have to look back. I really do. But I don't know, man. Like, I would have preferred them to switch it straight up instead of helping with Mikal. And I'm not saying Mikal stay home either, but have Mikal hedge and recover instead. Right? I didn't like Mikal committing to the help. Again, maybe in this instance, Tim Hardaway was too far to recover to. But it's just, it's frustrating to see zero adjustments being made because the same play 2 times in a row ended the game there last night. And the Knicks played it the same exact way both times by doubling the pick and roll with Mikal and Brunson. And it led to the same result. So, again, I thought they should have pre-switched both. And if you watch Brunson closely the first Beasley corner that went in, if you watched him at the top of the set, he's making hand signals. He was making hand signals. I don't know if he was making a signal to OG to switch the action, or maybe he was signaling to the ref for 3 in the key. Maybe it was something totally different and I'm overthinking it. But watch him. He's doing something with his hand. He's clearly trying to get someone's attention. But again, I'm trying to be as reasonable as I can because I'm on Twitter. I'm watching this game from my couch. It's easy to sit here and say they should have done this. It's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback. And instinct kicks in, right? I can't blame Josh Hart too much for closing out there. It's instinct. There's an open shooter, you got to close to. I get it. There's no easy answer despite what the 16-year-old little boys on Twitter make you think. I get it. We're at a point where we're halfway through the season and this has not worked. This defensive formula hasn't worked, and it's a little bit of scheme and it's a little bit of personnel, right? And there's no easy answer. There really isn't. Like, Tibbs plays drop coverage with Cat, and Cat's defensive fundamentals are very poor. So we want to see them be more aggressive. We want to see them hedge. We want to see them switch more. I've been advocating for a switch defense all year. But when the Knicks switch 2 out of the 5 times, you're going to be left with a mismatch. So can this whole thing work defensively with Karl Anthony Towns? And Karl Anthony Towns has been an unbelievable player for this team. He's been their best player all year. He's been arguably the MVP of the Eastern Conference, at least. Obviously, SGA is taking home that award as of now, but Cat's been top 3 MVP in my opinion. But it's just tough because he's in a position where, he's part of that big question mark defensively. The big question all year has can the Knicks make this work with now 2 pick and roll targets? Last year it was just 1 pick and roll target, right? But this year, it's 2. It's 2 targets on pick and roll with the hope that your 3 wings would be the wing stoppers, right, to alleviate the issue. But neither of those 3 wings have been elite defensive players this year. So that's the problem. So now, with that, Cat's in drop coverage looking even worse. The idea of having Cat in drop is to put him closer to the basket so he can rebound. And we're seeing the benefits of that. So we can't just forget about that. The reason he's rebounding friggin' 18 times a game is because he's close to the basket, guys. So you take him away from that, and you don't have that as much. The idea of Cat and drop is to also limit his movement. He's not mobile defensively. You want to keep him out of foul trouble as much as possible, which hasn't been working. That's why the Knicks aren't aggressive in coverage as much as we want. Not because Tibbs is a bad coach and he needs to be fired and he's an idiot and he's overrated, etc. No, because they don't have the personnel to consistently scheme the way we want to. They don't have the personnel to do it comfortably. If the Knicks are consistently in aggressive coverage with Karl Towns, whether that's hedging or even switching, Cat's just not balanced enough to stay in front of guards. Cade Cunningham beat him to the basket every time Tibbs brought Towns to the level last night. Top of the 4th quarter with 9 minutes and change remaining, Towns is in aggressive coverage, but he's in a very poor stance at the level. He lunges himself off balance at Cade, And that leaves Cade a wide open lane to basically walk into the paint. And that's exactly what happened. And then there were times when Cat was in drop last night, and it doesn't work because if the point of attack defenders aren't doing their job and they're constantly behind the hips and constantly struggling at the top of every ball screen, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, then it's more work for Towns, and he ends up, moving and fouling anyway. Or it's because he's in a drop, you're conceding space for the guard to pull a three. You saw that with 10 minutes left and change in the fourth quarter. Towns was in drop early in the period. Cade has the open 3-point space. He knocks it down. Detroit goes up 9 points. There's no easy answer here. And because we're now halfway through the year and Tibbs is still trying to find the correct formula for pick and roll, that's leading to this giant mess. It's been chaotic, and guys are miscommunicating on switches. And there's just so many breakdowns. So that's where we are. That's where we are. There was a possession early, mid-third quarter maybe. There was a Cade Stewart pick and roll. Cat's in drop coverage. Very poor stance where he's kind of just like shading Cade to his right. He's not in front of Cade. He basically gives him the right lane. And he allows him to get into position to dribble, penetrate, and then eventually hits Stewart deep on the roll for a basket. Because he's guarding two, and whoever was at the point of attack was behind. The Knick wings and Knick guards are struggling at the top of those ball screens. OG Anunoby had a really bad night last night. He's been underwhelming, to say the very least, defensively. But there were moments last night, man. 8 minutes left and change in the third quarter. He was caught on a Stewart ball screen. He ends up behind the hips and allows an easy basket. Late in the third quarter, he bites on a Cade Cunningham fake, falls behind the hips again because he's expecting a switch with Hart. Cade gets the easy and one at the basket. Middle of the fourth quarter, he's killed by Ron Holland in an isolation off pick and roll. Who the hell is Ron Holland? 2.5 minutes left in the game. He's up top on Cade Cunningham on the left wing, and he gets burnt out of triple threat. He gets right by him. He's behind the hips again, and Cade has this easy pathway to the basket, puts Detroit up 4 points. That was a key possession. I thought he was bad. I thought Josh Hart wasn't great. I don't love his defense this year. Late in the third quarter, Sasser's going coast to coast in transition. Hart doesn't pick him up until he gets past the friggin' nail. By then he's behind, and it leads to an easy basket. Campaign had a possession, middle of fourth quarter, key moment. He's up top on Sasser. He relaxes on him. He's upright. And this allows Sasser to drive right by him, dribble the lane, and I think he has a dump-off assist to Durant. Mikal Bridges struggled at the top of the second half to contain Cade there. I mean, it's been really bad. I don't see this defense turning around this year. They're going to need another piece, and that piece it's not going to come this deadline because they don't have the resources to do so. They can't make a move without going over the without going over the second apron. For anybody big, they go over the second apron. So if anything, they're going to move Mitch or Precious to get a decent addition, but nothing that's really going to change much. But yeah, people wonder, why are the Knicks using Cat like he's Mitchell Robinson? It's because when he's at the level, he's not quick enough. And you can make a case that the Knicks have tired legs and this is why they're poor defensively. I would disagree. I think Towns has always been an immobile defender. He's never been a great defensive player, which is why when he was with Minnesota, they had to sacrifice the offense. They had to put him at the 4 and go after and trade for Rudy Gobert to make it work defensively. And that's the whole conundrum here, right? Towns' offensive game has seen a significant improvement this year. And playing the 5 is a major factor of that because he's matched up with bigger, slower defenders, so he's able to exploit that mismatch and showcase his athleticism and versatility. He's facing more traditional big men who are less equipped to handle his speed and agility. This allows him to take advantage of slower bigs and create opportunities. Where last season, he was matched up with smaller, quicker fours, bigger wing players, and that forced him to work a lot harder and create space to get open looks. It was much more tougher for him to do so. And so by getting another big and putting him next to him, that's what you're risking. By improving the defense, you might lose a little too much offense. And it's kind of like it's a double-edged sword right now. So I'm not blaming the big bad Tom Thibodeau like the 16-year-olds on Twitter are. I see it more as a roster construction issue. There's some Tibbs stuff to factor in, of course. But to go to the extreme and say it's all his fault and he needs to go and this and that and I'm going to cry and I can't handle adversity. No, it's a mixture of a lot of things. I don't think this roster is constructed in a way that can help the Knicks win a championship. Eventually, they can make some more moves to get there, but again, we're not in a position to where this can happen this year. So those are my thoughts, and that's where I'm going to wrap this one up. When we get back, we'll talk about the two best Knicks on the floor last night. BD4 is available on social media for those who want to follow. You can find BD4 on Instagram at BD4Pod. You can find us on X at BD4Pod. And you can find us on Facebook by simply searching BD4. Hey guys, just a quick reminder, this podcast is also available in video format on YouTube. So be sure to go over to the YouTube channel, BD4, subscribe, like the videos, comment and tell me how much I suck or maybe how much you like the video. We'd very much appreciate it. Don't have time to sit down and watch a video? You can listen to BD4 on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Don't forget to give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And you can also watch the video format on Spotify too. If you feel like supporting the podcast, you can Venmo at Robert-Carbone-JR-28. We really appreciate your support. Do you enjoy Yankees baseball but are tired of hearing me yap? I have a suggestion for you. Go check out Yankee Crazy Podcast. Greg Gill is a Yankees podcaster on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, and he's now selling merch. Go to yankeecrazy.myshopify.com. Stay connected with us. Visit BD4blog.com to explore our blog, tune into our latest podcasts, and follow us on social media. Thank you for being a part of this community. All right, welcome back to the show, episode 781 of the podcast. The Knicks lose once again. Doing the part I hate the most here is, in a loss, who are the two best Knicks? I think among the first unit, I have to go to Mikal Bridges. It was nice to see him figure something out. 27 points, 9 for 13 shooting, 6 for 8 on his three-point looks. He has been inconsistent as ever. Started the season extremely roughly. Did not play well on either end. Figured something out where he was red hot in December. And the defense picked up. And the offense was very solid. But again, now, over the last couple of weeks, he's been struggling. And it was nice to see him put something together last night after 2 horrific games in a row. So we'll see where this goes. I have a bad feeling this could be what we see all season, but, maybe... Listen, this guy's... The epitome of Mikal Bridges' career has been that he's one of the most consistent role players in basketball, if not the most consistent role player in the game. So if there's anybody who can turn around and figure his shit out, it's him. But again, we're halfway through the year, so half the season has already been, I don't want to say wasted, but used up. So it's go time. Last night, defensively, I thought he had a great first half. As I said, second half, not so much there to where Tibbs, who doesn't adjust, by the way, adjusted the matchup, and he switched OG Anunoby to Cade Cunningham. So Mikal Bridges, best among the starting five. Then we go to the bench. I don't like what I'm seeing from Precious Achiuwa. Landry Shamet, it seems like he's on his way out after we all thought Campaign was on his way out, or at least I did. Shamet has been so bad. And it's Campaign, who I'm going to say was the best on the second unit last night. 10 points, knocked down a couple threes. Doing his thing, he upped the pace. Getting 3-point looks up in volume. That's what you want him to do. I didn't like some of the defense there, but I don't think Deuce has been as explosive. Interesting to see him not play in the second half. Just 3 minutes in the fourth quarter, that was it. Maybe it's something to do with him coming back from this injury, not being as explosive as I said. I don't know. Maybe it's monitoring the injury. I don't know. So I thought Campaign was the best Knick from off the bench. Up next, the Knicks have the Philadelphia 76ers on Wednesday. They're in Philly tomorrow. I think it's the first time they're playing Philly this year. Or maybe, I think it might be the second. I don't know. If it was earlier in the year. But they're playing a terrible Sixers team. I don't think Joel Embiid plays basketball anymore. I don't know what the injury is now. I don't know if it's, every Zoomer's favorite, load management. But he's not playing right now. He's out. And I don't know where Tyrese Maxey is. I haven't heard his name in a while. I know Paul George is over there. I don't know if he's healthy. I really don't know what's going on over there. I just know they can't really consistently get it together. They're on the outside looking in. They might be the 10 seed. I don't know. But that's up next. And then, after Philly, the Knicks have an opportunity to really, what's the term? Righten the ship? Straighten the ship? I don't know. They have an opportunity after this Philly game to get their shit together, let's say. Because they've got 8 consecutive home games. Where it's Minnesota on Friday for that rematch. Atlanta next Monday, who've been a tough matchup for the Knicks. That Dyson Daniels matchup. Brooklyn at the Barclays Center. And then you're at the Garden against Sacramento, Memphis, and Denver to wrap up the month of January. And then it's the Lakers and Rockets to wrap up the homestand early February. So Minnesota, Atlanta, Brooklyn, Sac, Memphis, Denver, LA, Houston. 8 consecutive home games for your New York Knicks. Let's try to win those games, man. Let's try to take those. I'm not really looking at records and wins and losses as much the rest of the way. I'm going to just try to look for certain things I want to see this team improve on. But there are a couple of matchups in there, like Minnesota, like Atlanta, like Memphis, like Houston. Top seeds, teams that the Knicks have struggled against, defenses that the Knicks have had a tough time exploiting. So I'm looking for that. But Philly tomorrow night, and then we work from there. Our trivia question for today, to wrap this whole thing up, is it true or false? It's on Karl Anthony Towns. True or false? Karl Anthony Towns ranks top 15 in Knicks history for double-doubles in a season. Is that true or false? In a half a season with the Knicks. Is that true or false? True or false? Karl Anthony Towns ranks top 15 in Knicks history for double-doubles in a season. That's it, folks. Going to wrap this up. I'm going to try to get a Yankees episode out very soon. If I can get one out tonight, I will. I have time today. I'm off. I have nothing today. So if I'm going to get one out, it'll be either tonight or tomorrow before the Knicks game. I'll try. With that said, thank you all for tuning in. And of course, as we always do, we end up going the full 30 plus, even though we say we won't. Appreciate you all. See you soon. Well, if you made it this far, that means you listened to or watched the entire episode. Thank you. Just remember to follow, subscribe, download, rate and review, and all that fun stuff to help out the podcast. And I will see you in the next episode of BD4.